Recently, I learned how to no miss, no death clear Thunder Force 4 and Lightning Force on Sega Genesis. I loved playing Lightning Force as a kid, but never learned how to survive past stage 1. Now, as an adult, I was very interested and motivated to learn the game. At first, it was very difficult, but as I played the game more and used more online resources to help me, things started to become more easier and manageable for me. And fun as well. This game has very heavy memorization that has various elements that aren't obvious or intuitive. There are some things in this game that are hidden that would require many hours of experimentation on many of its stages. But once you know where everything is and how to optimally deal with enemies and bosses, everything falls together perfectly when you play. All you have to do is use your memory and follow the script of what you know in the game. Randomness in this game is quite minimal, and I found out that it's regulated to certain mid-bosses and end-of-stage bosses. Everything else is laid out ready to go. There are 10 stages in this game. The first 4 stages, you can select which order you want to play. Then after that, the next 6 stages are all laid out for you. For me, I stuck with the order that was ensured that I had proper weapons ready for the next stages. I've seen playthroughs of other stage orders, and I tried them out. It definitely gave me a different and challenging experience, but I mainly stuck to the order I liked and decided to learn other stage orders in the future. My favorite weapons in this game were the blade and the hunter. With the crawl option around me, those 2 weapons helped out a lot. Good damage and coverage. I like the railgun that shoots behind me too. Lots of power for situations when I need it. The freeway weapon I like too. I liked its wide shot and its ability to aim in 8 different directions. The damage was mediocre, but I didn't care. My least favorite weapon out of the group was the snake. I didn't use it very much and it just seemed lame. Oh yeah, the Thunder Sword is really fun and powerful to use. You let it charge by not pressing the fire button and then release it when you need it. The disadvantage is the kickback when releasing it, which can cause some accidental deaths. The most important item in this game, in my opinion, are the shields. They're everywhere in this game. They are very important for survival. Knowing where the shields are at will make playing the game much more fun and enjoyable. You have 3 hits before it's inactive. When your shields are down, you need to know where the next one will be. Because it's so easy to chain death, getting 1-ups aren't very valuable or useful for survival. It's mainly just for scoring at the end of your run. And 1-ups seem to be everywhere in this game. There's also score extends, but I couldn't keep track of that. I stuck with normal difficulty for learning the game. And I started with Lightning Force. There are minor differences between Lightning Force and Thunder Force 4. I decided that my first goal with this game was to just 1 CC it, 1 credit clear. If I had a good time or felt a certain way about getting it clear, I would decide upon a no-miss, deathless clear. I also decided to just play the game without much resource or help. It was very difficult, just chain death after chain death. Credit feeding didn't help at all. Almost all the stages of the game rely on the weapon pickups you come across. You lose a weapon when you get hit, you have to find a way to get it again. So don't get hit. Keep your shields to keep your weapons. It's easier said than done, but with practice and knowledge of where things are, it can be done. It's not impossible. You're going to be dodging more of the enemies themselves than their bullets. Same with some bosses. I had to choose the right weapon and right positioning to deal with them safely. Resources I used to help me learn the game were speedrun clears on YouTube, and I also listened to the Shoot the Core podcast about this game. I also used save and load states in RetroArch to help me focus on certain stages and bosses. It helped out a lot. Most of the stages in this game are huge. That was one of the first things I noticed playing as a kid. You can travel vertically so far. I never seen that in any other horizontal shooter. The height of the stages were kind of a double-edged sword in my opinion. They gave the stages a great sense of depth and exploration, but sometimes it was easy to get hit by enemies because they were out of view. So a lot of times, moving around too much vertically was hazardous. But thank goodness every stage does not have the same vertical height. One thing that helped me learn stages while playing is keeping note of each stage's set piece. It's like a small event within almost every stage. For example, in Stripes, when you're in the water, then you meet the Cerebus 2. Or in Dazzler, when the sandstorm clears up and the music changes. Oh yeah, some stages may feature more than one or two different music tracks. Every stage has something like this. Either a change in scenery or location, or you might fight a mid-boss, or come across some kind of obstacle or something. Keep that in mind when you're learning the game. There is a speed meter in this game too. I kept it at 75% and slowed it down for stages that didn't have much room or space to move around in. I found out if you press and hold the A button, or whatever button you have mapped for speed, it can increase it slowly by 1%. That's pretty cool. The mid-bosses and end-of-stage bosses are highly difficult if you're just using your twin shot. If you have the Thunder Sword, you can deal with them even more quickly towards the end of the game. When I felt I was ready, I began to do some no-miss clear attempts. I no-miss cleared Lightning Force, then Thunder Force 4, off stream though. I did do a no-miss clear on stream, which I think I performed better than my off-stream clears. Then I decided to challenge myself to do Thunder Force 4 on the Thunder Force Gold Pack 2 on Sega Saturn. I wanted to do a different starting route than what I was used to doing when playing on the Genesis version. Getting the clear was a lot of fun. I even unlocked the ship from Thunder Force 3 to play with. Lightning Force and Thunder Force 4 on Genesis are mostly identical, but with a small change in one of the boss's behaviors. I think also some of the mid-bosses and some enemies may have different hit points. The version on Sega Saturn is quite different. There's no slowdown when things get hectic, and there is even a mode called Kids Mode that makes the game more lenient. You can even combine it with a higher difficulty. And as I mentioned earlier, you can unlock the Thunder Force 3 ship when clearing. I found it sort of hard to play with because I was so used to how the weapons behaved with the default ship, the Rhinox. The lack of slowdown was hard to adjust to at first, but I got used to it. I actually started to really like it honestly, especially during the boss on stage 9. Speaking of bosses, all the bosses are extremely different than each other, which is really impressive. Every boss has a certain weakness toward a certain weapon or a weak spot that needs to be focused on. Some bosses even have weak spots that are active after another hit spot has been dealt with. Like always, if you don't have any good weapons equipped, the boss battles can be miserable to go through. Yeah, because I don't have the right weapon. On the flip side, to the middle, towards the end of the game, using your Thunder Sword against bosses can seem almost overpowered. But for some reason, I kind of like that. It feels unbalanced, but with how the game is designed with power loss, I'm okay with it. Yes, this game is very hard at first, but once you learn it, you can just casually breeze through it by sticking to the script and keeping in mind of any small weird RNG the game has. You know, Thunder Force 4 / Lightning Force is one of my favorite games on the Sega Genesis. It feels good to learn this game that haunted me back then. It was just so hard for me as a kid. It was just brutal. But I love the visuals and the feel of the gameplay so much, I kept coming back to it. I do feel a way to balance the game a bit more is to maybe take the enormous amount of extends, but maybe lessen power loss a bit. Make the default shot stronger if you lose your weapons, or decrease the HP of some of the bosses. Also, maybe decrease the amount of shields you gain in the playthrough as well, or make it just one hit instead of 3 hit points. Honestly, I'm not sure. In the description section, I have links to my no miss clears. 2 of them were locally recorded, and 1 of them I actually did on stream, which I feel is my best performing no miss. Maybe I'll keep playing for score. Maybe I'll keep playing to learn a higher difficulty. But at the moment, it feels good to conquer a game that owned my soul all my life. So now it's time to learn